Hey Canucks fans, Canucks Twitter is fighting once again. And did the North Division live up to your expectations? I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Tuesday, June the 8th. This is where you get Canucks insight that's positive and timely. Shout out to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, simalexander, Justin Credible, nucksfan number 29, Lucas Gates, Chris Seifried, Adam Broomfield, Shea Family Channel, and Jamie Sports Talk and more. Thanks for your support as always, and thanks to the support of all members of all levels. You're listed in my video description. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or any of my videos, or on the memberships tab on my YouTube channel. Also want to give a shout out and a hello to my season ticket partner, Mike, the guy who got me into these Canucks season tickets in the first place more than 10 years ago. It is his 37th, I almost said 47th, that's me. It's his 37th birthday today, my 47th birthday, so exactly 10 years before him, and 2 weeks later, if that makes sense. So my birthday's in 2 weeks, yet I'm 10 years older than Mike. That's what I'm trying to say. So happy birthday to Mike, and thanks for getting me into the Canucks season tickets, a decision that I've never regretted. It's been a little expensive, but I've never regretted it ever since I joined you. So happy birthday to Mike, and thanks again to all my Hall of Fame members and to members of all levels. Let's talk about Canucks Twitter, and then let's talk about the North Division. And I realized I haven't done one of these topical videos in about 3 or 4 days. I took a break yesterday because of some work commitments. Sunday was Ask Me Anything. Saturday was showing off the artwork from Gassy Jack, and Friday was I think a 10-year look back at the Canucks Boston series, which I stopped doing because no one watched that video. So here I am with a topical topic or topical video. The two things I want to talk about. The first one is Canucks Twitter, and Jason Bruff of Halford and Bruff in the Morning on Sportsnet 650, he set it off by saying this: take salary out of the equation, who is a better player, Troy Stecher or Tyler Myers? Now this was because of Troy Stetcher's gold medal winning performance earlier in the day. His team, not just him, Team Canada unexpectedly winning the gold medal at the World Championships in a thrilling overtime win over Finland. That's who they played, right? Regardless, that was a really good win. I just want to make sure the Canucks beat Finland. Yes, of course, Canucks beat Finland. So, not the Canucks. Team Canada beat Finland, and it was great. All the Vancouver Canucks connections on there. Troy Stecher, ex-Canuck, playing. Michael DiPietro, current Canuck, playing, but not really. Roberto Luongo, ex-Canuck, general manager of the team, and so on and so forth. So it was a great win overall for Canada anyways. A lot of these guys may not win Olympic gold medal, may not win a Stanley Cup, so a world championship, that'll do just fine. But with Troy Stetcher's strong performance, and then of course Tyler Toffoli's strong performance for the Montreal Canadiens, the team emerging out of the North Division, there's been a lot of revisionist history, or a lot of people just saying, oh, there we go again. Too bad we didn't have Troy Stecher, or too bad we didn't have Tyler Toffoli. Too bad Jim Benning didn't run out of time. For me, I'm over those. I get at the time, especially why we wanted those guys back. I get that it was doable if the timing indeed was better. And I am privy to a few things that why in particular with Troy Stecher, why the contract offer wasn't made early enough. So I understand why Canucks fans are still upset. And you got to wonder if the Canucks would have been better with those two players in the lineup. You definitely think so. But at the same time, how often are we going to go back to the well? Of course, this is the same guy that was posting videos about 10-year anniversary of Canucks and Bruins. But yeah, how often are we going to go back to this versus realizing that what's done is done, and we do indeed have to move forward. And we can still wish Stecher and Toffoli well in wherever they're playing. So to finish that thought, Jason Bruff, his tweet, his poll, 64% of people said Stecher, 36% said Myers. So basically 2/3 voting for Stecher, maybe because he's local, maybe because he's cheaper, maybe because Myers hasn't really lived up to his big contract. Whatever it is, whether you're analytics or not, eye test or not, local or not, 2/3 of the people like Troy Stecher more than Tyler Myers. So, of course, that set off a massive firestorm of debate on Twitter. And I do want to bring this up. I won't be able to screenshot it, but I do want to bring this up. So Yerky21 on Twitter did a funny chart this morning. Basically, picture two big circles. One big circle is, how the hell is Jim Benning still employed? And in that circle, these are the people that believe this: Canucks fans, other teams fans, former players, former team execs, former scouts, out-of-market journalists, most local media, non-traditional media, analytics folks, and non-Francesco Aquilinis. Then there's a smaller circle that says, I support Jim Benning. And this is hashtag group chat, house radio designees, Hockey Night in Canada establishment, Arthur Griffiths for some reason, and one Aquilini, meaning Francesco. And then there's a third category that is an intersection of the two circles. How is Jim Benning still employed? And I support Jim Benning. And there's only one name listed by that third circle, or that intersection of the two circles, and it says Clay Emo. So very, very funny tweet, full of maybe inside jokes, or if you're not following all the discourse about the Canucks on Twitter or in the media, you might not get all those jokes, and I won't explain all of them now. But it's I will link to the tweet in my video description. It is pretty darn funny. It's very creative. It's got a lot of people talking, and of course, I love that I have my own category all to myself. A bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of column A, a bit of column B. How the heck is Jim Benning still employed? But I support Jim Benning. And I'll take that as a compliment. I'm the only person who has its own, his own category. So make sure you check out the tweet. I will link it in the video description. It is pretty darn funny, but it speaks to all the angst that was and all the conversation that's been on Twitter recently about the Canucks. Let's talk about the North Division. Montreal Canadiens sealed with Tyler Toffoli's overtime goal just 2 minutes in from Cole Caulfield. They swept the Winnipeg Jets. This is Montreal after going to Game 7 against Toronto. Remember, Winnipeg swept Edmonton. So Winnipeg sweeps and then gets swept. But Montreal is the team that is going to represent the North Division against either Vegas or Colorado. Montreal, the same Montreal team that had fewer wins than Calgary in the regular season. The same Montreal team that did pummel the Vancouver Canucks for most of the season. The same Montreal team, though, that coming out of their mini COVID break maybe didn't even look like they were going to make the playoffs. But it's the Montreal Canadiens. They've won 7 straight. You got to give them full credit. Carey Price, obviously leading that team, getting a lot of contributions from their younger guys like Caulfield, Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and many others, of course, veterans like Petrie, Weber, Armia, Gallagher. So it's exciting. And I'm not the biggest Montreal Canadiens fan, but I'll be cheering for them if they're playing Vegas. I'll be cheering against them if they end up playing Colorado. That's just kind of the way it goes. But now that Montreal has emerged as the North Division champion, the North Division representative, I want to ask you, did the North Division live up to the hype for you? And for me, it didn't. And I think there's a few reasons why, which I'll get into in a second. But overall, I was excited about this North Division. Yeah, rivalries, intense games, battling for playoff positioning all the way into the final week. Unfortunately, friends, none of that happened. And what was good on paper and was done because of COVID, I don't think we're going to see again. And maybe that's for the Canucks' benefit. So let's talk about a few things. Why was the North Division disappointing to me? Well, number one, it's because there are no fans in the buildings. And yes, you could say that for most of the teams in the States as well. Of course, as the season went on, and especially near the end and now in the playoffs, you see fans in stadiums, sometimes at full capacity. And while it's still a little bit scary, a little bit weird to see, it's a great thing, obviously, for those home teams, for the game, for the fans themselves. You just look at what's happening in Vegas or Colorado or Tampa or Carolina, Nashville, how crazy it is in there. So that's the first thing, is the lack of fans made for a lack of energy and atmosphere in some games. A second thing is it wasn't really a race. Toronto started off the season really well and never looked back. And then Edmonton kind of emerged a little bit, fighting with Winnipeg. And then maybe the only sort of drama was who's going to get that fourth playoff spot. But even that, when Vancouver's COVID exposure hit, that basically took them out of the running. Calgary was never good enough. So really, you had Toronto up here, then Edmonton and Winnipeg slightly below them, and then Montreal emerging from this class of Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, and Ottawa, not the strongest group of teams. So I think the second reason is it wasn't a compelling playoff race down the stretch. Third thing is I actually got sick of seeing Ottawa 3 times in a row, or Calgary 3 or 4 times in a row. And you think, there'd be some excitement around that, depending on the certain storylines or which players are playing for which teams. But I understand why they had to do it, obviously, to cut down on travel and to do these baseball type series. But I think 2 games, maybe 3 at the most, but I think 2 games back, in the same city against each other, that's fine if you want to cut down a little bit of travel. But 3 games, 4 games in a row against the same team did get to be a little bit cumbersome, a little bit tiresome, and a little bit boring for me. And again, that's maybe because the Canucks weren't doing well. If the Canucks were doing better throughout the entire season and not go through that horrible stretch in February, then maybe I would have been more invested. Always invested in the team, but maybe I'd been more invested in these matchups and the North Division. So we have lack of fans. We have not real playoff race. We had not the most exciting teams in our division, admittedly. And then I'd say truly the Canucks, and this is now independent of all that, the Canucks' poor start, I think, had a lot to do with it as well. Therefore, they weren't really in the playoff race. Therefore, it seemed like the season was done before it even started. Didn't help that Petey got hurt and some other things. And of course, the COVID exposure just added insult to injury. The fact that we were already trying to scratch and claw our way back, and then we were set back both physically, mentally, emotionally, all those things. So for all those reasons, to me, the North Division was a disappointment, especially how hyped I was for it to see some of these, a Vancouver Winnipeg or Vancouver Edmonton, Vancouver Calgary, Vancouver Toronto, Vancouver Montreal, a Toronto Montreal game, a Toronto Ottawa game, Calgary Edmonton, Winnipeg against whoever. Any games that would have had playoff ramifications until the final 2 weeks of the season, we unfortunately did not see them. The placing was basically set with a few weeks to go. So hockey fans, Canucks fans, I would love your take on both. Tell me about the North Division. Was it a disappointment for you, or was it fine? Did it exceed, live up to, fail against your expectations? So that's one thing, and tell me why or why not. And the second thing is, are you fine with all this Canucks Twitter fighting? Are you fine with people still lamenting Stetcher and Toffoli? Or you been there, done that? Let's move on. Let's look forward. Let's see what happens this offseason. And which of those two groups that I talked about, which I'm going to link to, how the heck is Jim Benning still employed? Or I support Jim Benning. Which one are you? So a lot of stuff we can talk about. Leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply as always. Subscribe if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Become a member of this channel if you'd like to. Stay safe, stay healthy. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless. And go Canucks go.